Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anil, and in this React.js video tutorial we will learn about components. So there's a lots of things to learn in this video, but these are the major points. First of all, we will learn what is component, types of component, example, and I will ask a question. You can attempt this question in the comment box, and I will answer the question which I asked in the previous video. And the answer is how many types of component exist in React.js. And this is my Insta account if you just want to join me on Insta. So what is component? So let's talk in a general language first of all. So here you can see that component is basically a element of a large whole, right? So for example, you can say that if you have mobile, then RAM, camera, display, speaker, mics, these are the different component, right? And if you just want to take example of vehicle or machine, then you can see that the tires, windows and engines are the different component. Similarly, in a React, there is a piece of code that you can reuse, is basically a component. For example, header, footer, sidebar kind of things, right? These are the basically components. So as you know, we can reuse header. So let's say we have 50 pages in our web application, and each page need a header and footer, so that we can reuse these things for every page. And the another example for reusability is sidebar. So let's say we need the same content in right and left sidebar, right? So that again we can just reuse a similar component in right and left side also, right? So this is basic example. Yes, you can just compare it with the function, like we can just make a function in a general JavaScript or in any other language, and we can reuse it, right? Similarly, you can make a component and reuse it, but component is more powerful than function. Why? Because it has some our you can say that lifecycle methods, and there is some more advanced type of parameters, and it have our state for variable or data storage, and it have some amount of HTML elements also, right? And I already told you header and footer are the best example for components. So how many types of component we have in a React.js? So basically, if you just want to make a new component, then you can make a component with only two types, with a functional and class. But if you just want to classify on the behalf of your logical things, right, then there is a lots of type of component, like high order component. This is not a last video on the component, so you will just get to know the basic idea of the component in this video. In the upcoming video, you will get a video on each and every topic, like on a class component, functional component versus class component, HOC component, pure component, controller, and each and everything, right? So these are the some types. Yes, there is a more type of component also, like nested component, root component, then you can say that the container components, presentational components, stateless component, dumb components, smart components. There is a lots of categories, right? So people have one thoughts, and they can just call it this type of component and all. But if just someone asks that how many components have the React, then you can just say that when we just want to make a new logical thing, then we can just make it with the only functional or a classical way, class way. Otherwise, if you just want to categorize it, then there is a lots of things, like you can just tell some 4 or 5 types of component, and he can understand that you just know about the component, right? All right. So after that, now it's time to make an example, right? So now let's jump on a code. So when you just want to make a new component, you can create a new file, or you can create the component in a same file also. Let's say you just want to make a users component. So for that, if you want a new file, then you can make an inside a new file. Otherwise, you can make a component here also, right? So now first of all, let's see that how we can create it with the new file. So let's take a user.js. keep in mind, whenever you will create a new component, your first letter should be capitalized to maintain the standard of React.js, right? So here what you need to do just write here a function, and you can just simply put here a test, your function name. It should not be test, it should be as the file name, right? You can take any name whatever you want, but this is good if you just make your component name with the file name, right? And just return here, and in the return you can just take a brackets and just put here a div like this, and let's put here a hello. Okay, so let's just convert it with a h1 tag so that we can just enlarge text also, right? And let me just increase the font size also. Great. So now after just creating this component, we have to import it, but before that we have to tell that we want to export it by default or normal export, right? So let's say I just want to export it default users. So now what is the meaning of export default and the normal export? I'll tell you, right? So when you just want to export it by default, then you can just import it like this, and I will tell you why, right? User from user, right? That means this is a major part of your file, right? So let's say you have the more than one component in a single file, let's say user, or you can say that the member, right? That time only one component can be exported by default, other component will be exported normally like this, right? So now you just want to import them both. For that, what you need to do first, which is exported by default, you can export like this, and the second one you can just export like this, member, right? So this is the difference between export by default and the normal export. So we don't need it. I am just going to remove it for a moment, right? So now here you can see that this is our project, which is working fine. And now let's how we can use this component. For that, you just need to put here simply users as an HTML tag, right? And you will just get your output here. Let's just write here user, right? And this is working fine. So if you just don't want to export it by default, then you can just simply write here export, and now you must have to put here brackets, and again this is working fine. All right, so now what do we want? What is the next thing? So can we create the two components in a single file? Yes, I already showed the example of members and users, but again let's just take one more example. So let's just copy this code from here, make it comment, and just comment this upper line, and now define your user component here, right? And here you can see that in same file, so that you can just find a difference, right? Here you can see that if you just define a component in the same file, you don't need to import and export kind of things. That is the simple way, right? One more thing. So let's say I just want to add here one more h2 element, like hello from h2. So will it work? No, it will not going to work. You will just get a error here, because it will just telling the error adjacent JSX element must be wrapped inside enclosing brackets, because it will actually telling that the elements, or you can say that the only root elements in a component should be only one, or you can wrap your all elements inside only one element or one root element. So now this is working fine, right? So I already answered my previous question, which is how many types of component we have. So now the time of question for this video, right? So the question is, we can just make a separate file and for component, we can define multiple components in a single file. So can we define a component inside the another component like this? Is it possible or not, right? Just write the answer of this question inside the comment box, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. If you have any kind of question, you can ask me in the comment box. Don't forget to subscribe my channel. Bye bye, take care, and God bless you.